Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started, but I'm going to get started a little bit slowly here to give some stragglers some time to get to log in here. My name is Jen. I'm with Scholarship Owl, and what we're going to be talking about today is money saving and earning strategies to help pay for college. And this is a brand new webinar for me. I've been working on the presentation for a couple of weeks. I'm really excited about it because so many students have their dream for college and they really wonder if they're ever going to be able to go. So whether or not you already have applied for college and gotten into the school you want to go to, or if you're not quite there yet, doesn't really matter, because for even students who have already been accepted to the school they intend to be attending, sometimes it can be really hard to come up with the money needed to actually pay that first tuition payment or to pay your housing or whatever. So what we're going to talk about today are some ways that you can actually strategize a little bit and come up with other ways to either earn more money or save some money. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start my slides. So give me just one moment here. And I'm going to turn off the camera and we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you're in the process of applying to colleges or will be soon, I'm sure that one of the things that is foremost on your mind is the ever-growing cost of college. So one of the most common questions I'm asked is, what can I do to earn and save more money for college? If you've been wondering the same thing, you're in luck, because today I'm going to share the tips and strategies that I've found to be helpful for my own kids as well as for the students I've worked with. So let's take a look at what we're going to cover today. In today's webinar, we will cover applying for summer jobs. I'm sorry, let me start over. In today's webinar, we're going to talk about paying for college, income strategies, cost saving strategies, and then we're going to go over a summary, and then we're going to have a live Q&A. And for those of you who watched through the entire webinar, we'll be offering a special thank you that I'm going to talk about more at the end of the webinar. We all know that college is expensive. Sometimes it can appear that the ability to attend college is solely dependent on your family's ability to pay for it. To a certain extent, I get that. But when you dig deeper and look at your options, you'll see that isn't exactly the case. That said, whether or not you're able to attend your dream school may well depend on how affordable it is for you and your family. So let's go over some of the basics about paying for college. In the best of all possible worlds, you and your family have been saving and investing for your college education for many years, and there's now enough money to cover nearly all of your education costs. But in the real world that the vast majority of us live in, that unfortunately is not the case. This is because the cost of college has risen dramatically over the last 30 plus years. On top of that, while the cost of college has increased, the average annual household income for most families has been pretty stagnant over the same period of time. Wages have increased very slowly or plateaued, even though the cost of living has steadily increased. Mortgage and rent is more costly, gas prices are higher, and the cost of food is higher as well. As a result, most families are unable to set aside much money for their children's college education. The situation was compounded by the Great Recession, and even though that was several years ago, many families are still recovering from that and are paying down past debt. So if you and your family are struggling to pay for college, you are not alone. In fact, you are actually in the majority. Given all of this, you may be wondering how you'll pay for college. And the answer to that is that you'll pay for it the way most families do, through a combination of strategies that can make college more affordable and more accessible. Like anything else, there are two primary ways that you can make something more affordable. You can create avenues for increasing your income, and you can create avenues for reducing your expenses. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. There are several ways to generate income that you can use for college. Here's a brief overview: need-based financial aid, scholarships, employment, side hustle or freelance opportunities, gift money from family and friends. One way to reduce college cost is through need-based financial aid. If your family is low income, there is a good chance you'll qualify for a federal grant through the FAFSA. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. All students who are planning to attend college should complete and submit the FAFSA, because the FAFSA is your gateway to whatever federal and state financial aid you may be eligible for, including grants, federal work study, and federal student loans. If you do find that you're able to receive a federal grant, the money you receive will be free money, meaning that you won't have to pay it back. Many students qualify for a Pell Grant, And students with significant financial need might also receive the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. If you're interested in becoming a teacher, you might be eligible for a Teach Grant. If you're the child of a parent or guardian who died during service in Iraq or Afghanistan, you may be eligible for an Iraq and Afghanistan Service Grant. Many states offer their own education grants, so depending on where you live, you'll want to check to see what's available in your state. For example, I live in California, and California offers the Cal Grant for lower income students, as well as a special scholarship for middle income students. So check to see what's available in your state and make sure you apply. And again, state grants are free money that does not have to be repaid. One thing that's really important to remember is that your financial aid offer will come from the financial aid officer at the schools you're applying to. Your need-based federal financial aid will likely be similar at each school. However, depending on whether or not you are applying to an in-state public university or out-of-state or private university, you may or may not be able to receive state grant funds. So if you qualify for a state grant in your home state, it may be worthwhile to pursue attending college at an in-state public university to ensure you can access your state's grant. If you receive a financial aid offer that you don't feel aligns with your family's financial situation, reach out to the college financial aid officer to ask how to appeal. Each college has an appeals process, which typically involves completing and submitting an appeal form, as well as writing a personal statement to support your appeal. You may need to submit other documentation as well. Now let's move on to another source of income that doesn't have to be paid back: scholarships. One great way to increase your income is to earn scholarships. I know it does take time and effort to apply for scholarships, but it can be well worth it. There are three primary sources of scholarships. Institutional scholarships are scholarships offered directly by each college or university. These are scholarships that you can apply to only if you're applying to attend that school. Some colleges will automatically consider you for scholarships once you submit your regular application to the school, while others have a separate scholarship application process. You'll need to research this for each college you're applying to and find out what the scholarship application deadlines are. Don't assume that the university will notify you about scholarships. It's up to you to do the legwork and make sure you apply on time. And be aware that the scholarship application deadline is typically prior to admission decisions being sent out. So don't be the student who gets accepted to her dream school and only then decides to apply for university scholarships, because by the time you're accepted, the scholarship deadline will already have passed. While many institutional scholarships are set aside for students with financial need, there are plenty of scholarships based on academic merit. So if you were unable to qualify for a grant through the FAFSA or from your home state, you may still be able to earn scholarships based on your GPA, your volunteer service, test scores, and more. Okay, the next great source of scholarships are the local ones in your own community. The easiest way to find out about them is to ask your high school career center or guidance counselor. Most high schools keep track of local scholarships, and in fact, in many cases, the high school actually has a single application that you can use for all of the local scholarships listed with your high school. Local scholarships are awesome because far fewer students will apply for them since they're only offered to students in your community. Some local scholarships are for students with financial need, while others are based on academic merit. And you might be surprised to know that some local scholarships are intended for students who have struggled academically, meaning that if you don't have a high GPA, there are still scholarships you can qualify for. And finally, there are external or private scholarships. These are scholarships offered by nonprofit organizations, foundations, and businesses. You can apply to as many of these kinds of scholarships as you like. If you are diligent and persistent, you might find that you're able to earn scholarships that really make a difference in your out-of-pocket costs. Many of these scholarships are not focused on your financial need or your academic merit. That means that many of these scholarships base their decisions solely on what you submit when applying. I should also note that these scholarships are often open to younger high school students, current college students, grad students, and in some cases, even international students. So whatever your situation, you can find scholarships that you can qualify for. Most students search for external scholarships online using Google or by visiting any number of websites that discuss scholarships. The process is typically overwhelming and time-consuming, which explains why students unfortunately often give up on searching for scholarships. It can be really frustrating. And of course, since seniors are super busy applying for colleges, as well as working hard in school and preparing for graduation, it can be difficult to summon up the energy to also search for scholarships, let alone to apply for them. Scholarship Owl is a great resource for these kinds of scholarships, so I'd like to take just a moment to talk about applying for scholarships on the Scholarship Owl platform. With Scholarship Owl, you are able to view hundreds of scholarships all in one place, enabling you to avoid using Google to search for opportunities. Instead, you can just log into Scholarship Owl and see scholarships right in the dashboard. This significantly streamlines the search process. In addition, you won't have to fill out an application form each time you apply for a scholarship. Instead, your Scholarship Owl registration information will automatically fill in application forms for scholarships in our database. This again saves time and enables you to focus on the most critical aspect of applying for scholarships, which is creating and submitting whatever is required to accompany your application. Typically, that would be an essay or a video. It's important to note that the scholarships in our platform have all been pre-screened by our staff, so you'll know that the scholarship is real and that the information is current. I also want to note the scholarships in our database are all scholarships that you could find yourself if you spent lots of time Googling and searching. What makes the difference is that we have already done the searching for you, and our platform streamlines the application process. For those of you who are not Scholarship Owl members, we do offer a free trial that you can access from our website, so you can try it out and see what you think. This may sound obvious, but it's super important. One of the best ways to increase your income is to get a job. When you get a job, you are relying solely on yourself, so you are in control of your destiny. While you're in school, get a part-time job and plan to work 10 to 15 hours per week. And during summer and winter breaks, plan to work full-time to maximize your income during those time periods. If you are still living at home with your family, save as much of your earnings as you can so that you'll have the funds when needed for tuition or for moving into a dorm or an apartment. There are plenty of student jobs available in retail, restaurant, and customer service roles. So if you aren't working yet, get started on creating or updating a resume, create a LinkedIn for yourself, and start searching for jobs. Popular job search sites for students include snagajob.com and coolworks.com. Indeed and LinkedIn are also good sources for these kinds of jobs, along with your local Craigslist. And of course, you can apply directly with many employers via their website. Chipotle is doing a big hiring push at the moment, as are many other retailers and restaurants. Consider applying for jobs where employers provide tuition reimbursement, and Chipotle is one of them. You would be surprised at how many companies do this. Here are just some of the well-known companies that have tuition support programs: Starbucks, Amazon, Home Depot, Bank of America, UPS, AT&T, Walmart, Target, McDonald's, Best Buy, Chick-fil-A, Verizon, Lowe's, and T-Mobile. So those are just some, but it gives you an idea that if you are a student and you don't have a ton of experience, you don't have to work for IBM or other big corporations to have access to a company that will help pay for your college. These are jobs you can get right now and get some support with for your tuition. So it's really well worth it. And now let's talk about another great place to work, your college. Colleges and universities have so many jobs for students. Many of them will be designated as work-study only or work-study preferred. These jobs are ideal for students who are offered work-study as part of their financial aid offer from the college. If you're interested in being able to apply for work-study jobs, make sure to indicate that when you submit your FAFSA. If you aren't sure if you indicated your interest on the FAFSA, you can log into your FAFSA account and update it at any time if necessary. In addition to work-study jobs, there are also jobs that all students can apply for. The best part about working on campus is that the university will work with you to accommodate your school schedule, which makes these jobs quite flexible. And so also, sometimes you can find jobs related to your major. For example, if you're majoring in biology, you might be able to find a job as a student assistant working with a biology professor. Or if you're interested in marketing, you could get a job at the university communications department. And speaking of jobs related to your major, even if you aren't applying for jobs on campus, do look for jobs related to your future career interest. There is no reason why you must work in retail or a restaurant if you plan to pursue a career in tech. There are lots of jobs and paid internships at all kinds of companies, so take the time to apply for those roles as well. And as a bonus, these jobs often pay better than minimum wage. Bottom line, do whatever you can to earn an income and apply your earnings toward college expenses as much as possible. Refrain from spending frivolously the best you can, but of course you'll want to keep a little of the money you earn for fun. That will help keep you motivated. Many students earn income in a non-traditional way, either instead of or in addition to a regular job. These days, there are so many ways to earn extra money through what the industry refers to as gig employment, money earned through a side hustle or freelance work. Examples of common versions of this would be driving for Uber or Lyft, delivery for DoorDash, Uber Eats, Instacart, Shipt, and more. What's great about these kinds of jobs is that you control your own schedule. You decide when you want to work and how much time you want to put into it. If you're super busy, don't work for a bit. And then when you have more downtime, you're open for business. These kinds of jobs also help fill in when money is tight, so it's something you can add to your life when needed. There are plenty of other types of gig work, though. If you have an artistic ability, have skills with graphic design or video editing, for example, you can take on freelance projects from apps and websites that list these kinds of opportunities. If you're skilled in the trades, you can look for freelance opportunities involving carpentry, construction, handy person projects, and more. You can make some extra money as a dog walker or a pet sitter or a house sitter. Babysitting is another way to go. If you have skills with web or mobile development, consider building a website or mobile app that can actually earn you some extra passive income. Are you a talented home chef? Consider offering catering services for special events or bake sweet treats and sell them. The bottom line, get creative and start thinking about how you can earn extra money even if you already have a regular job. When you've got a special occasion coming up, like your graduation, birthday, Christmas, or another holiday, encourage family and close friends to contribute to your college fund rather than giving you a gift. Explain that you're doing everything you can to save for college and that their support would be greatly appreciated. If you don't feel comfortable telling people this yourself, you can ask your parent or another close relative to spread the word on your behalf. Honor their support by saving all of the gift money you receive until you really need it, whether that be to pay for tuition, books, housing, or other needs for school. While I recommend that students avoid taking out student loans where possible, I would be remiss not to include them as an option to help pay for college. What is important to remember is that even though a student loan can be a fast way to having income, remember that what you are actually taking on is student debt. Yes, you'll receive funds to pay for college when you need them, but you'll have to pay those loans back with interest. So you'll owe far more than what you take out. If you do need to consider taking out student loans, try to take out only federal student loans and not private loans. Federal student loans have a lower interest rate, and they also have better repayment plan options than private loans. Many students ask me if the Biden administration will forgive some or all student debt. The answer to that is that no decision has been made. He is reviewing the possibility, but even if he does move forward with loan forgiveness, it will likely be capped at a certain amount and will likely also be capped at a certain income limit. On top of that, from what I've seen, he hasn't considered forgiving private loans at all. So this is yet another reason to avoid taking out any private student loans. If you are weighing college choices and you can afford one school without taking student loans versus another school where you would need a student loan, I highly recommend going with the more affordable option. This is especially true if you'd be forced to take out private loans to afford the more expensive school. Now let's look at the other side and talk about ways to reduce your college cost. Because if you can maximize your income while minimizing your expenses, all of a sudden, college will be much more affordable for you. There are so many ways to cut costs and make college more affordable. Here's an overview. You can shorten your degree. The less time you spend in college, the less money you'll spend too. Reduce tuition costs, trim the cost of room and board, save on books and supplies, reduce your miscellaneous expenses. Let's talk about each of them in more detail. One of my favorite cost-cutting strategies is this one. Shorten your degree so that you spend less time in school. You may find that you can cut a full year out of what would have been a 4-year degree and graduate in 3 instead. Here's how. If you're currently in high school, and if you are a strong student, you can get a head start on college by taking AP exams, CLEP exams, or by taking dual enrollment classes while you're still in high school. AP is pretty well known, and most high schools offer a number of AP classes that you can take, most of them in junior and senior year, but you may be able to take 1 or 2 while you are a younger high school student as well. The benefit of taking AP classes is twofold. By taking a rigorous college-level class, you'll get a GPA bump to your weighted GPA. On top of that, if you pass the AP exam at the end of the year with a score of 3 or higher, you may be able to get college credit for the class. But if you don't pass the exam, you won't get the credit. So you need to keep that in mind, and the exams are definitely challenging. Some things to know about AP. If you're planning to attend a public university, you are likely going to be able to get credit if you score a 3 on the exam. But if you want to go to a private university, you might need to score a 4 or even a 5 on the exam to get college credit. Also, many private colleges will only give you elective credit. So for example, if you get a score of 4 or 5 on the AP Spanish exam, you still might have to take a Spanish class in college. But most public universities will actually give you credit for a Spanish class rather than an elective. It's also important to note that universities may cap the maximum number of credits you can earn by exam. Again, private colleges tend to have a lower cap than public universities. As such, to maximize the value of your AP credits and graduate early, I highly recommend focusing on applying to public universities rather than private. CLEP exams are another option to consider. Many colleges will award credits for taking CLEP exams, and sometimes CLEP exams are viewed as slightly easier than AP. So if you take an AP exam in a particular subject and worry that you didn't do as well as you hoped, you might want to take the corresponding CLEP exam shortly after the AP to see if you can pass the CLEP. You do not need to take a class at all to take a CLEP exam. You can simply study on your own, maybe with a CLEP test prep book you buy online, and then schedule yourself to take the exam. Another thing that's really cool about CLEP is you find out the same day you take the exam if you've passed the multiple choice portion of the exam. So that's really helpful. Here's another interesting tidbit. If you don't get the score you want on an AP exam, you can actually study for the exam on your own and retake it the following year. This is what my daughter did. She got a 2 on an AP test that she felt she normally would have done well on and was really disappointed. But the teacher for that class happened to be brand new, fresh out of school, and she didn't do all that well teaching class. So the following year, my daughter bought an AP prep book, took the exam, and scored a 4. She was so happy she did that and only studied for a couple of weeks before taking the exam. But one alternative to taking exams for credit is to simply enroll in an online or in-person community college course, either during the school year while you're in high school, or during the summer while in high school, or while you're in college. If you do that while you're in high school, in most cases, your high school district will pay for the course on your behalf. You can transfer the credits to your high school and also get college credit for the course. If you take summer college courses while you're in college, simply transfer the credit to the university as you normally would. If you work hard and stay on top of things, you can accrue a lot of college credit even before you step foot in a university classroom. My daughter was able to transfer 9 units of AP credit and 9 units of community college credits to her university, and she also completed an additional community college summer course while in college for the next couple of summers. She took some extra units here and there during her regular college semesters and was able to graduate in 3 years, saving about $25,000 off her education costs from a public university in California. And I also know of some very ambitious students who graduated high school with their associate degree in hand through dual enrollment, saving themselves about $50,000 and 2 years of time for their degree. And there's something else that's rarely thought about. For students who shave a year or 2 off of their degree, they not only graduate sooner, they earn money during the time they saved, and they are then at that much ahead in their career. So for example, instead of spending $25,000 for her 4th year of college, my daughter was able to land a well-paying job, making 3 times what that last year of college would have cost her in her very first year out of college. Here's an idea that everyone should consider. You can specifically seek out universities that offer lower cost tuition or even free tuition. Some examples. Public in-state universities are typically going to charge a lower tuition rate for state residents. So when you apply to colleges, be sure that you apply to some public universities in your own state, just in case you aren't able to obtain enough financial aid or scholarships for an out-of-state or private institution. Today, many states offer free tuition for attending an in-state community college. Starting at a community college is a great way to go, especially if the tuition is free. But even if you have to pay for tuition, the cost will be significantly lower than tuition at a university. Community colleges also partner with universities to create a seamless transfer path. If you're pursuing a very challenging major, such as engineering, biology, or another type of STEM major, you might also want to consider starting at a community college because you may get greater support for your lower division STEM classes at a community college versus a university. Give yourself permission to not attend your dream school if the cost of that school would require you to take out student loans. Far too many students are focused on attending expensive schools, feeling that a level of prestige will translate into greater marketability with employers. I can't emphasize enough that most employers do not care where you attend school. They're interested in the fact that you did complete your degree, and they are interested in your area of study. If you happen to have your degree from an Ivy League school, that might impress them to an extent, but far less than you might think. If you graduate from a flagship public university such as UCLA or UT Austin or University of Michigan, those schools will get some name recognition, but again, not as much as you might think. I live in the Bay Area in California, and one of my favorite questions to ask is this. In a survey of Silicon Valley tech employers, the employers were asked where they most often recruit from to get new employees. The answer might surprise you. They didn't say Stanford or Berkeley or UCLA. The number one response, San Jose State University. San Jose State is considered to be a good university within the California State University system, but it certainly doesn't have the prestige of an Ivy or even a UC. But it is a well-respected public university, and it's located in the heart of Silicon Valley. So don't get caught up in trying to impress your friends or family, and don't assume that employers will be more likely to hire you if you spent $200,000 on your undergraduate degree. Oops. There are also a good number of private colleges and universities that offer reduced tuition or even free tuition. Be sure to explore these colleges and consider applying to some of them as well if you happen to be eligible. Here are some colleges that offer free tuition that you might want to consider. Alice Lloyd College in Kentucky. If you live in Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee, Virginia, or West Virginia, you may be eligible for free tuition. Barclay College in Kansas is a small Christian university. If you live on campus, you may qualify for free tuition. Berea College in Kentucky offers free tuition to all students. Students must work at least 10 hours per week on campus to qualify. College of the Ozarks in Missouri offers all students free tuition, but students need to work at least 15 hours per week on campus. If you are a music major, consider applying for the Curtis Institute of Music in Pennsylvania. Curtis offers free tuition to all students. However, students must be accepted via a selective audition process. Warren Wilson College in North Carolina offers free tuition to in-state residents who qualify for need-based aid. Students work at least 10 hours per week on campus. Webb Institute in New York offers full tuition scholarships to all accepted students who are U.S. citizens or permanent residents. Webb is a small school offering just one course of study, a dual degree in naval architecture and marine engineering. So if those areas interest you, definitely apply to Webb. You also might want to consider joining the armed forces. If you pledge to serve in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, or National Guard, you will be eligible for education benefits through the GI Bill. Some colleges will offer automatic merit scholarships based on your high school GPA or SAT or ACT score. Those that do this will actually tell you how much of a scholarship you'll get right on their website, making it easy to see whether or not you would qualify for one of their automatic scholarships. You can also apply to public universities in nearby states that participate in a tuition reciprocity program. A tuition reciprocity program is one in which public universities offer reduction in their out-of-state tuition costs to residents of nearby states. Not all universities participate, and there are sometimes parameters that need to be followed. For example, sometimes students must meet minimum GPA or test score requirements to be offered the tuition reduction, or in some instances, colleges might offer tuition reduction only for certain majors. You can take a look at this map to see if your state participates in one of these programs, and if so, then you can log online and find out more about it. Of course, one of the easiest ways to reduce college costs is to live at home and either enroll in online classes or commute to college near your home. If you have one or more universities near your home, I would highly recommend that you apply to them, even if they aren't your first choice. That way, you'll have a backup option in the event that you're unable to get the financial aid and scholarships you're hoping for. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also attend community college near your home and transfer to university as a junior. One idea that students often don't think about is attending a community college that is either near your home or a distance away and living in an off-campus apartment. While this is more expensive than living at home, you would still save significantly on tuition. When comparing colleges, focus on ones where the cost of living is lower. Apartments will be less expensive, and there will likely be less expensive dining and entertainment options as well in those communities. If you still do want to go away to university, you may find it's less expensive to live off campus with roommates and prepare your own meals than living in a dorm on campus. So that may be an option as well, depending on whether or not the university requires that freshmen live on campus. Now let's talk about some of the specific living expenses you'll have and how you can reduce them. If you are a college student living away from home, you may qualify for food stamps in your state, even if you didn't qualify for a Pell Grant. Homelessness and food insecurity has been rising among college students, and access to food stamps has made a big difference for students. Today's food stamps program is easy to use. You would get a dollar amount allotted to a special debit card every month. When you buy groceries, you would swipe the debit card to pay for them. Also, students can use these cards to pay for fresh food at farmers markets. The amount of money you can get loaded onto your card will depend on your circumstances, but in California, I believe you can get up to $190 per month, which can be life-saving for a college student. You might also be eligible for a discount on your utility bills, such as your gas and electric and water bill. And right now, due to COVID, college students may be eligible for a $50 per month subsidy to help with the cost of internet access. There may be other programs too. Check with the state where you'll be living while attending college to see what is available and how to apply. I also want to mention that a lot of these programs, like, for example, the gas and electric company, the utility companies, they will not tell you about these discount programs. Typically, you have to actually call and ask. And when you call and ask, you'll be so surprised to hear what the details are of their program. So definitely take the time to make those calls and find out about what you're eligible for. You might also ask around in the community where you'll be living to find out where the less expensive or discounted grocery stores are. You can also save on transportation costs. Take public transit, bike, or walk to get where you need to go. Not only will you save on gas, but you also won't need to pay for insurance for your car. If you already have a car, sell it and apply the money you earn to your college education. If you're contemplating going to university far from home, don't. Avoid the cost of airfare getting to and from your school several times a year and choose a school closer to home. Some colleges will automatically try to get you to accept health insurance coverage through them, and they may even automatically add you to their policy unless you can prove you already have coverage. If you're able to stay on your parents' health insurance, let the university know and opt out of any coverage offered through the college. Avoid paying for cable and instead watch TV shows or movies on your computer. Make healthy choices for yourself to not only live well, but also to save money. If you smoke, try to quit to avoid paying for cigarettes. If you drink alcohol, cut back. Reduce your intake of red meat, which is a more expensive protein. If you find yourself to be in an urgent situation where you're struggling to pay for essential things like food, utilities, or rent, contact your school's financial aid office to ask for suggestions and resources. Sometimes colleges will have emergency grants available for students in dire circumstances. Once you find out what books and supplies are required, take the time to compare pricing. Consider renting rather than buying books, and/or consider getting a downloadable ebook instead of an actual textbook. In many cases, you can find options that are less expensive than what is offered at your campus bookstore. Check to find out which books and supplies are truly required versus optional. In many cases, professors will say that few books are actually required. This may be surprising, but it's true. Colleges are well aware that students struggle to afford required books, so many professors have adapted and make many of their texts optional, meaning that exam questions are not based on that material. If your major requires or recommends the purchase of special supplies, talk with your professor and ask for suggestions for reducing the cost of those items. In some cases, you may be able to borrow what is needed. Most universities have a library or computer lab where printing is available for students. As such, you may find you don't need to buy a printer for your dorm or apartment. While I do strongly recommend that each student has their own laptop, if that isn't possible for you, you may find that using computers available on campus may suffice. That said, some colleges have a laptop lending program, so ask if yours does. It's important to recognize what are critical costs versus extras that you might enjoy, but that are not actually needed. If you are needing to significantly trim costs, make a list of these kinds of expenses and see what you can do to reduce their cost. Here are some examples. Look for free events and activities on campus and prioritize them over other types of activities that you would have to pay for. Investigate all of the free activities, perks, and discounts available to college students in the area surrounding the campus. You may find that there are many eateries and stores that offer discounts to students. If you live in an apartment, make your own meals as much as possible and bring leftovers to campus for lunch rather than buying meals at school. Look for thrift store buys to furnish your dorm or apartment. Refrain from relying on credit cards for routine purchases. Try not to use credit cards at all, except in cases of a true emergency. Refrain from traveling back and forth to home and school if the cost of transportation is making it difficult to afford necessities. Encourage friends and family to come out to visit you instead. So, in summary, understand that college can be affordable and accessible for you. It's not easy, but it can be done. The key is applying strategies that increase your income and that decrease your expenses. Today, I covered lots of these strategies. You can increase your income with financial aid, scholarships, employment, adding a side hustle, or freelance. You can also take out student loans, but you need to remember that this increase in income is only temporary. As soon as you graduate, that will become student debt that has to be repaid. You can decrease your expenses by making smarter choices for yourself. These choices include shortening your degree, choosing a college that enables you to pay less in tuition, reducing your living expenses, saving on books and supplies, and more. Trimming unnecessary miscellaneous expenses can help too. All of this takes effort, diligence, and a little ingenuity as well, but it's worth it in the long run as you'll reduce your reliance on student loans and be that much more prepared for what's next after you graduate from college. So as a thank you for attending this webinar, we are offering my money saving and earning strategies checklist. This is an invaluable tool you can use to help and ensure you are doing everything you can to reduce your college costs as well as increase your income. It's the ideal companion for this webinar, and I know you'll find it to be a helpful resource. If you've watched some of my other webinars, then by now you should have lots of these tools. Hopefully you're using them. All right, so I'm going to turn off my slide deck and we're going to do some questions in our live Q&A. Give me one moment here. Turn my camera back on. All right, I hope I didn't go too fast. I know it was a ton of information. The good news, in case any of you are wondering, is that after this webinar is over, sometime in the next 24 hours, you will get a link sent to you in your email where you can actually replay the webinar. So if you want to, you can replay it, watch it again yourself, take some notes. You might want to show it to family members or other friends who are trying to save money. So you'll be able to do that through the replay link that you get. You'll also get a link to download that checklist that I just talked about. So I'm going to take just a moment here and scroll through the questions because I'm sure we have a bunch. If you didn't write questions in the chat right now, but if you want to, feel free to do that. Normally I have a second person with me, and so it would be a little faster because I'd have that person ask me the questions, but because he's not here today, I'm just going to kind of review them myself. Let's see here. Let's see here. Somebody's saying they got $1,000 from FAFSA. That's good news. And that person is suggesting that if you are in the state of Florida, you can access Bright Futures, the Bright Futures Scholarship, which is awesome. It's like a prepaid tuition program that they offer to Florida residents. Somebody says, how do you apply to specific grants? Are there separate applications? So if you are applying for any kind of federal grant, you would use the FAFSA. So it's a single application. If you're applying for state grants, it really depends on the state you live in. In some cases, the state grants are based solely on the FAFSA as well. But in other states, you might have to do a separate application process through your state. So you'll want to see what's required where you live. Somebody's asking if there are state grants in the U.S. Virgin Islands. That is a great question. I don't know, though. That's not something I happen to know, so you might want to Google that. Let's see here. How do you find the local academic scholarships? So the best source for your local scholarships is going to be to contact your guidance counselor or career center staff member at your home high school or your community college. Or the university where you're attending if you're currently a college student. One thing that a lot of students forget about is that when they graduate high school, they think that they can't access their guidance counselor for additional support. If you graduated from high school and you are looking for scholarships in that same community, go ahead and contact the guidance counselor or the career center and say, hey, I graduated a couple years ago. I'm looking for local scholarships. Do you know of any I can apply for, even though I already graduated high school? And you might be surprised that they may have some recommendations for you. Let's see here. Somebody's saying they give you a lot of pop-up ads. I'm not sure what that's referring to, but I'm not sure. Can we get a list of all the resources you are saying? That is a great question. I'd be happy to share specific resources. I can, I can write them down for anybody who needs them, but it would be helpful to know what you're looking for. Okay, and yes, somebody said, will this be recorded? And yes, you will get to have the replay link. What does work study mean? So work study is a federal program. If you check the little box on your FAFSA that says you're interested in work study, then you are essentially indicating your interest, and depending on your financial need, you might be eligible for work study. So it does depend on your financial needs still, but work study is a great program because what happens is basically if you get accepted into the work study program through the FAFSA, it will be offered to you on your financial aid offer from the college. And it'll say something like work study $3,500 or something. And it's important to understand that that is not a grant. That is not a scholarship. That is the amount of money you can earn working in a work study job on campus during the school year. So, and I'm going to use $3,500 as an example because I think that's a fairly common number from what I understand from students who get work study. What that means is about half of that could be earned in the first semester and about half in the second semester. And so what you would do is you would contact the career center at the college you're going to be attending and say, hey, I've got work study available to me. I'd like to apply for work study jobs. You can go through the process of applying. And there are many jobs on campus that are designated either work study only or work study preferred, which means that you're going to be able to apply for jobs that you wouldn't normally be able to apply for if you didn't have work study. The money will come to you just like a regular payment. Sometimes it's biweekly payments, sometimes it's once a month, just depending on what your school does. And that money is money that you get in your own account that you can use to pay for things. So you can use it to help pay for your tuition. You can use it to pay for your living expenses. You can use it to pay for books. Whatever you want to do, that money is yours. What's great about work study compared to a regular job is that when you apply for the FAFSA the following years, money you've earned in your work study job will now count against you, if that makes sense. So let's say you got a job at your local retailer and you earn $3,500. That money would count against you for future FAFSAs. But if you earn that money through work study, it's like the money never happened, if that makes sense. So basically, it will not impact and lessen your financial aid in future years. So that's what's great about work study. Do on-campus jobs pay well? They often pay minimum wage or just above minimum wage, depending on whatever the minimum wage is in your state. Often, though, after you've worked for a certain period of time, you can get incremental raises. So sometimes if you work for a semester and then you're going to keep the job the next semester, you might get like a 50-cent raise or something. The next year, maybe you'd be raised another 50 cents if you kept the same job, or maybe even $1. Also, some jobs on campus do pay a little bit better than minimum wage. It just kind of depends on what's going on in your school. Okay. I'm just looking here. Would side hustle include stocks and selling products on Amazon? That's really interesting. So you could consider investing in stocks and things like that to be a side hustle, but I would recommend you be really good at it. Or at least have somebody work with you who is really good at it, because what you don't want to do is gamble your college savings away through day trading and things like that, right? You want to make sure that the choices you're making are good ones where that money is going to grow. As far as selling products on Amazon or eBay or Etsy or any of those, that's great. That's definitely a side hustle. Let's see here. Is there a way around the membership fees for Scholarship Owl? So with Scholarship Owl, the way it works is your first 7 days are free. And during those first 7 days, you can apply for as many scholarships as you like. And then if you want to cancel, you can cancel your membership, and then your credit card will not be charged. And all of the applications that you submitted during your first 7 days will be available still. So in other words, they're going to be active scholarship applications. And so I always recommend everyone apply to as many scholarships as possible during their first 7 days. And then if you want to cancel, that's fine. You can cancel, and maybe you've already submitted 10 or 15 scholarship applications that week. So really do your best to really maximize those first 7 days. And then also that will allow you to figure out, hey, is this something that I'm enjoying and that I think is going to be helpful to me, or do I want to cancel? And if you don't cancel, it's actually a really minimum payment that you'd be paying to have access to Scholarship Owl. If you do a monthly membership, it's $20 for each month. If you want to pay for 3 months in advance, it's $45 for 3 months, which means it's only $15 a month instead of $20 a month. And if you wanted to pay for 6 months in advance, it's only $60, which equals out to just $10 a month. So, it's really worth it. But what I would say is it's hard to know if it's worth it for you personally until you try it. So I always recommend everybody start the trial. You can decide to cancel, or you can keep going, whatever you want to do. But if you've been Googling for scholarships or using FastWeb or some of these other sites and been really frustrated, it's far less frustrating with Scholarship Owl. Because everything's all in one place. It's one platform. And when you log in, your scholarship matches are waiting for you. It's literally like, oh my gosh, I don't have to search anymore. They're right here. I know I'm eligible for them because I've been matched to them by their system. And then you can start applying. You can even write your essays right in, for the ones that require essays. You can write them right in the platform and apply. So many other scholarship search websites have a bunch of links, but it's like a directory where you have to click the link, leave, go to another website, look at the scholarship and say, hey, do I qualify, or am I eligible? Oh no, it already closed. They are selected a winner 6 months ago. So you go through that process on some of these websites, and it's very tedious and frustrating. Whereas in our case, any scholarship that is not currently active has already been pulled out of our database. We add new scholarships all the time. So it's a very fresh, active list of scholarships that are currently available. So I highly recommend you try it. All right, somebody says, I'm currently in a low-cost tuition vocational college. That is awesome. There are so many careers that you can pursue without a bachelor's degree. This is something I'm very passionate about. My heart is working with students that are in vocational programs, either at community college or through a trade school. I worked in a public trade school in my home state as one of my first jobs in the industry. And then I've also right now, actually, I also work part-time at a community college. So I highly support students who are interested in going a less expensive way to pursue their career path. Somebody said they did not know about retaking the AP exams. Isn't that awesome, right? It's really cool. Nobody tells you. And if you want to retake an exam, you pay the $90 or whatever it costs the following year, and you can just schedule yourself for it. So it's a great way to go. Let's see. Somebody suggested some survey sites. So that's awesome. Let's see. If I have 12 credits in college, how much time have I saved in college? That is a great question. If you've got 12 credits, that's equivalent to approximately 1 semester of work. So instead of graduating in 4 years, you could graduate in 3.5 years, which is awesome. That's a whole semester of living expenses and tuition that you can save. But you have to make sure that you go to a school that will accept your credits and that will give you the subject credits that you want. So if you have 3 units for example, from an AP English exam, you don't want to get elective credit for that. You want to get credit for an English class. So it's really important that you do that research with the colleges you're looking at. How does an Ivy League or high caliber university or college feel about students transferring in from a simple 2-year college? I love that question. First of all, I think it's far more important that you look at what happens after you graduate with your bachelor's degree than how a Ivy League or top university would feel about your transferring in. First of all, universities don't really care where you transfer from. They care about your GPA. If you've completed 2 years of college and are ready to transfer and you've got a great GPA, they're looking at you and saying, wow, this person can handle the rigor of college work. They're going to be actually interested in you. That said, again, it matters so much less where you transfer from, because once you get your bachelor's degree, you can get your bachelor's degree from an Ivy school. You can get it from your state's flagship public university. You can get it from private school. Wherever you get it from, nobody is going to be looking at your LinkedIn or your resume and saying, aha, you went to a 2-year college first. Shame on you. No, they're not going to do that. All they care about is where you got your final degree from, right? So, don't worry about that. And actually, so many students start at a community college and transfer from community college. It's very common, and it's going to become more common. Why will it be more common? Well, besides the fact that college keeps costing more, no matter what we do as a country, we can't seem to lower college costs. But because so many community colleges now offer free tuition, a lot of students are really taking advantage of that. Students and parents are saying, oh my gosh, free tuition. Before it was just less expensive at a community college. Now in my state, it's free. I'm going to go there first. I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to save my money and spend it later. So community college is a great option, and I highly recommend everybody consider it and see if it's a good choice for you. Let's see here. Is commuting to a university for 40 minutes away too far? That's a great question, and it really depends on you and how you feel. And I'd say the rigor of your program and what's involved. I think many students could easily commute 40 minutes at each direction, but maybe some students wouldn't. If you have the kind of program that is going to require a lot of extra time, for example, spending a lot of time on campus and labs, staying late, those kinds of things, 40 minutes might be a little too far. But for most majors, I think it probably will work just fine. Let's see here. A lot of people are asking about if there's going to be a recording and if it will be emailed. Yes, no worries. You will get the recording. Let's see. Somebody comments that many campus events have been canceled due to COVID. That is actually really true. This year, especially for those of you who are currently in college, I know the college experience has not worked. If you joined the session a little late today, you may have missed me talking about it. So we have an outstanding online community on Discord. You can see the link at the very top of the chat window. There's like a yellow background there. It's pinned to the top. That is the link to join our Discord. Our Discord is free. And there you're going to find students talking about all sorts of different things related to college, financial aid, scholarships, I'm on there every day. So if you've got questions, you're welcome to answer them. We have other staff that are on there as well. So I highly recommend you join our community. And yes, then you'll find out about our webinars. You'll also find out about our contests. We love contests. We're crazy about contests. Every month we have at least one major contest, and we give away great prizes like a MacBook Air, an iPad, AirPods. We've given away laptop backpacks, a projector that you can use to stream media on your dorm wall. So lots of fun stuff that's also very helpful for students. Okay, let me see what else. Somebody's asking if they're a homeschooler, how can they find local scholarships? That's actually a great question, and there's an easy answer. All you need to do is go to your local public high school and explain you're a homeschooler and ask if they have any suggestions for you, and I'm sure they'd be happy to help. There also is probably a homeschool organization that your family belongs to, and they probably also are aware of scholarships that are available. Let's see, are there scholarships for part-time students? Yes, there are. I would say not so much from universities, but if you are a part-time student and applying to scholarships through the Scholarship Out platform, there are plenty of those scholarships, and yes, you can qualify if you're going to be a part-time student. Let's see, can we rent books? Yes, you can rent books, and you can either rent actual textbooks where they get shipped to you and then you ship them back, or you can rent them from your college bookstore. Or you can actually rent even digital textbooks now, which is less expensive than buying the digital textbook. A lot of students really like digital textbooks. First of all, it's better for our planet, right? But also what's really cool is they have search functions where if you're searching for a certain phrase or subject, you can do a search and immediately be brought to where they have that search term in your reading. So that's kind of cool. Otherwise, if you're reading an actual textbook, you got to find it yourself. What to write for a SAP appeal. I don't know if they mean financial aid appeal. I'm guessing that's what the person's asking. So it really will depend on the requirements of the college where you're attending. But the first thing to do would be to contact the financial aid office, explain your special circumstances, and explain why you think you should qualify for financial aid. In many cases, because the FAFSA is based on the so-called year prior is what they say now. So this year it gets confusing, but so if you applied for financial aid through the FAFSA in 2020 for the 2021 school year, you were actually using your 2019 federal taxes, right? It's very confusing. So what's happened is that there are many families, especially because of COVID, where their financial circumstances have completely changed, right? Sometimes they've changed for a really terrible reason because maybe one of the parents died. And so there's that whole thing, right? Because if you've got a parent or a guardian who died from COVID, that's a whole problem now that is not going to be reflected in your 2019 taxes, right? Or maybe you or your parent lost a job due to COVID. All of these reasons that are very special for the 2020-21 students. So your circumstances may have changed. If so, contact the financial aid office and they ask what you can do to appeal. Probably you'll need to submit a written statement, and you might have to submit some documentation to go along with it to prove your special circumstances, and then hopefully they will amend your financial aid offer. Any suggestions for non-traditional students? I'm not sure what type of non-traditional students, so I'm going to kind of make a guess here. Non-traditional students are often students who are older coming back to school. It might be someone who's an international student. It might be somebody who wants to pursue a non-traditional career. So all of these things could be considered non-traditional. What I would say is that whatever your circumstances, there are scholarships you can apply for. And we do have them in our platform. So if you start your free trial, you will be able to apply for the scholarships that are on your match list in our platform. Let's see here. Is there a website to rent a calculator? That is a great question. I'm not sure. There might be. There also might be a way to rent or borrow a calculator from the college where you're attending. You might ask your math instructor, and you might be able to do that. Chegg offers rental books as well as Amazon. That is true. All right. How much time would you suggest investing in scholarship applications and or a side hustle? That is a great question. I always recommend people should try to apply to 3 scholarships a week. I know that sounds like a lot, but some scholarships are really easy to apply for. And so maybe you can do a mix, right? Maybe 1 or 2 scholarships each week are going to be easier, and then one might require a little bit more effort. If you try to integrate applying for scholarships into your life year round, during the time you are going to be going to college, you will find that you are winning more scholarships, because scholarships are a numbers game. But also on top of that, if you do apply to essay scholarships, you can start repurposing those essays. And so over time, you can repurpose things you've already submitted and written. And so the amount of time you spend will actually be less as time goes on when you apply for scholarships. And then as far as your side hustle, that kind of depends on what the side hustle is. The main thing is to figure out how much time you have, right? So think about the schedule, think about the extra time you have, and make good use of your extra time. Let's see here. Let's see, somebody's asking how scholarships work. Do you get the money for college directly, or do you just get the money and you have it for college? So that depends on the scholarship provider. Every scholarship provider lists their terms and conditions and what they do with the money. Typically, the money will either be dispersed directly to the college where you're planning to attend, and then the college will take the tuition and fees and things like that out of that money. And then if there's extra, they will refund it to you. Or sometimes the scholarship provider will send the money directly to you, and then you can apply that money as you wish for college. So it just kind of depends on how the scholarship provider has planned to do it. Let's see, my daughter received a merit scholarship but did not qualify for anything else. I'm not getting any other scholarship offers. What can we do to help her offset the costs? Because of pandemic and doing online classes, she lost the 12 or 16 additional dual or AP credits she would have received. That's super frustrating. I can totally imagine how hard that is. What I would say is that many students do not qualify for federal financial aid. So that is unfortunate, but it is the reality that if you're a middle income family or just above middle income, you might be completely out of eligibility for any kind of federal or state financial aid. And so then it's totally based on scholarships. What I would say, I don't know how many scholarships this student applied for, but I would say continue applying for scholarships. Don't assume that just because May 1st has come and gone and you've made your college decision, don't stop applying for scholarships. There are scholarships that are available all the time. And so you should keep up that pressure, get a summer job, use the strategies that I talked about today to save money and earn money. And as I mentioned, you can retake AP class exams if you want. The AP exams are available every May, so you can retake them if you want. You can also take CLEP exams. CLEP exams are available year round, so you don't have to wait a particular month of the year. They have CLEP test exam books that you can use to study, and then you can schedule the CLEP exam. Usually it's available to take at a university or community college. So, if you go to the CLEP exam website, they'll list all the different places where you can take the exam. So I highly recommend exploring CLEP to get credits. Let's see here. Gosh, there's so many questions. I'm doing my best to try to answer them here. My sister works at her college. She makes $7 an hour and gets paid every 2 weeks, for example. Okay, so that depends on the minimum wage in your state. In California, you get paid more, but then it costs more to live here. And yes, work study does not reduce your tuition. You work and apply your paycheck to tuition costs or living expenses, however you want to apply your paychecks. How do you apply for a student loan? So the way to apply for student loan is through the university. So you have already, if you've submitted the FAFSA, then you are automatically eligible for a federal student loan. If you didn't submit the FAFSA, then you have to submit the FAFSA, because that is your gateway to being able to apply for student loans. And then once you've completed the FAFSA, you would contact your college and ask how to apply for the student loans, and they'll tell you the process. There's a separate application process. There's a master promissory note, online training you have to complete. There's different things you have to do to qualify for a loan. But you can qualify regardless of your credit. If it's a federal student loan, you don't have to worry about having established credit or having bad credit. Doesn't matter. You are eligible. Okay, so if you were interested in work study, somebody's asking about this, but the university that she was accepted to didn't give any information in her financial package, that may mean that that you didn't qualify for work study. Even though you were interested in it, If your family income was too high, then you would not be eligible for work study. But if you're not certain, you can contact your financial aid office to verify that. Somebody's asking about if you earn scholarships not related to the institution you're attending, that it will be built into your financial aid and not additional money you can use. Is this true? So that is a great question. Colleges always say, if you are receiving outside scholarships, to let us know. They want to know because, yes, they do want to consider building it into your financial aid package. However, what I will say is that in most cases, if the amount of financial aid the college was giving you included federal student loans as well, many cases you can say, hey, I don't want to take out a student loan. Can I use my outside scholarship instead of my student loan? And then they will use that and not reduce your financial aid package. Not all colleges will do that, but many of them will. So I would say contact your financial aid office to verify exactly what's required. There are many universities, though, that will do what they call stacking, where they will stack scholarships rather than remove a scholarship you were offered. Somebody suggests Raise Me is great for micro scholarships. Yes, Raise Me is a good website to look at. Let's see. What are some tips on writing a winning essay for scholarships, and can you reuse an essay for multiple scholarships? Yes, you can reuse an essay, which I highly recommend you do. Tips on writing an essay. I do webinars about essay writing too, so you definitely want to look for those. But my biggest tip that I always say is to show, not tell. Be very emotionally connected to what you're writing about. Don't just give information, right? Show your passion, show who you are, show what you care about, and use words and phrases in your writing that demonstrate that. And that's going to make a big difference. If you need to retake AP exams, do you have to retake the class? No, absolutely not. What are the benefits of retaking the AP exam, and can you do that while you're in college, and can that make a difference to any scholarship? I don't think it would make a difference to any scholarship. As far as can you retake an AP exam while you're in college, I believe you can. I don't see there's a reason why you wouldn't. However, if you've already taken a class and that AP exam would give you credit for the same class, there's no point, right? So for example, if you want to retake your AP English class, but you already passed your first level English class in college, then don't retake the English AP exam, right? Because you already have credit for an English class in college. You cannot get double credit for the same material. So that's what you want to keep in mind. Has anyone actually won any scholarships yet? So many people have won scholarships. And actually, that's one of the things that if you go on our community, we celebrate people who've won scholarships. So there's a channel for that. Also, if you go to the Scholarship Owl website, there's a winners page, and you can look at that and see a whole bunch of scholarship winners that have won on our platform. Online colleges are usually cheaper than on campus. That can be true. It's not always true. What's cheaper is certainly if you don't have to live on campus, but oftentimes tuition will be the same, which is really kind of frustrating because you may feel like, well, it's not the same degree really, right? It's not the same as talking to a professor in person and having that in-person experience, but most universities that offer online and face-to-face will charge the same for tuition. So you need to be aware of that. Do you recommend going to an out-of-state college? No, no, I don't. Why? Because if you go to an out-of-state college, it's probably going to cost you more. Right? So unless they're offering you a financial aid package that makes it less expensive than going to an in-state public university, I recommend in-state. Why? Why not? Why would you want to go out of state, spend extra money, and maybe make yourself and your family really go through pins and needles and, trying to get scholarships and trying to figure out how to make up those extra costs? Now, that said, if you have really good academic merit and if you are able to get, great scholarships from the university or from other sources, and it costs less than going to your public and state university, go for it. But in most cases, students find that going to their in-state public university is going to be less expensive than going to an out-of-state or private university. So that's what I will say. Let's see here. Oh, and I see Kimberly here is telling everybody she won AirPods, which is true. She's one of the students on Discord with us, and she was a contest winner. Somebody's asking, someone who wants to pursue a PhD, would it be beneficial to attend a community or lower cost college and graduate there first before pursuing higher level classes at my dream school? Yes, yes. If you are planning on going to grad school, whether it's for a master's degree or a PhD or law school or whatever, start at a community college. Get your first 2 years of your undergraduate program as cheaply done as possible. Then transfer, get your bachelor's degree, and then apply for your graduate program. For Discord, can I log in as myself or should my daughter log in? If you are a student or a parent, you are welcome to join our Discord. So actually, I recommend that you both join. Let's see here. Somebody's asking if we can send the Discord link again. Oh, good. Somebody already put that in there. I love that you guys all help each other. Can we do college at home like homeschool? That's basically online school, right? Many of you have been going to online school all year this year, so you kind of know what that's like. Yes, there are online bachelor's degrees, master's degrees. There are online associate degrees. So yeah, definitely you can go online and live at home. Let's see here. What strategies would you recommend specifically for international students? So international students, first of all, there are scholarships on our platform for you that you can qualify for. Also, make sure you apply for scholarships directly from the universities you are applying to, because in many cases, those are going to be the better scholarships for international students as far as more bang for your buck. They tend to be larger scholarships than you can get just as in one, because a lot of scholarships are $500 or $1,000. So if you're looking for a larger scholarship, definitely apply to universities that offer them. That said, and this is very important that a lot of international students don't understand, because I've been talked to a number of international students over the years, and there is this desire for a full ride scholarship or a full tuition scholarship. Unfortunately, the vast majority of universities do not offer full ride or full tuition scholarships to international students. So that's something you need to be aware of. You may be able to get a decent scholarship that reduces the cost, but if you're looking for full ride or full tuition, it's going to be very hard to get. So I just want to make that clear. Let's see here. Can you continue education like engineering at a community college for more than 2 years and not going to university and save money? So most colleges, and you'd want to check with the university you want to transfer to, most colleges have a limit as to how many community college credits they will accept. In California, I believe the most you can transfer from a community college is 70 units. So you don't want to take more than the maximum that your target university is willing to accept, right? Because why would you do that? You'll end up having to take classes more than once. So definitely check and see what the cap is. But yes, you can complete all of the units up to your cap before you transfer. Let's see here. How to know if the FAFSA and the scholarships will cover all the costs. You can't really know that until you just keep applying, right? So you want to apply for scholarships. You want to aggregate as much money as you can. And then you have to compare that to the cost of attendance of the college you're planning on attending and see what you're able to get. So let's say with your financial aid and your scholarships and everything else, let's say you find out that you're going to receive about $15,000, let's just say, for a particular academic year. Then you can look at the college and see what their cost of attendance is. And you can find that every college on their website. You can search and say total cost of attendance, and you'll find information. And let's say the total cost of attendance there is $25,000. Then you'll know there's $10,000 more that you need to make up somehow, whether that be from working part-time during the school year and in the summer, or savings, or taking out loans or whatever. So you have to compare what you know you're going to get with what the actual cost is and see if there's a gap. Let's see here. Can you apply for scholarships that are due before and after school starts? Yes, apply for scholarships year-round. Let's see, I'm a non-traditional student, married, which means I do not get traditional grants or free money any longer. Any advice for us? Apply for as many external scholarships as you can. Just because you can't get federal financial aid does not mean that you cannot get scholarships. I'm also not sure, just by being married does not mean necessarily that you're not going to get a traditional grant. So I'm a little confused by the question. So it could be that maybe your family income is too high for you to qualify, and that I understand, but it doesn't matter if you're married or not. If your family income is less than the maximum to get a Pell Grant, you should still be able to get a Pell Grant, whether you're married or not. Let's see. And somebody commented that he took CLEP exams, and yes, they're good, but the problem is there aren't so many colleges that accept them. A lot of colleges do accept CLEP exams, especially public universities, but definitely check with the colleges that you're applying to and find out before you take the exams. Let's see here. How do I receive my financial aid award letter? That is going to come from the college that you are applying to. So you should get that either in a portal if your college has a portal, or maybe they'll send it to you via email. If you haven't received a financial aid offer letter, and you should have by now, like if you applied for college this year, contact the financial aid office. What if you aren't going to live with your family for college and you put the household payment on your FAFSA, but it has nothing to do with how much you yourself are able to pay? Okay, this is a great question. It's sadly true that if you are a dependent student, which means not independent but dependent, then your family's income does get counted against you on the FAFSA. Most students are considered to be dependent. If you are under age 24, even if you don't live with your parents, there's very few situations in which they would consider you to be independent. One of those would be if you are married and under age 24, you are considered independent. If you are pursuing a graduate degree, in other words, you already have a bachelor's degree, you're considered independent. If you were in foster care or were a ward of the court, it's possible that you would be able to be considered an independent student, but you would need to, it kind of depends on your specific situation. If you have been homeless or are at risk of being homeless recently, you could be considered independent. But as you can see, that's a very unique situation. The vast majority of students under age 24 are going to be considered dependent, which means that your parents' income is included on the FAFSA. So it's not necessarily just about your own income, it's about your household income. So they do ask about the student's income and assets, and they ask about the parents' income and assets. If you are the child of parents who are divorced or not living together, then you need to include the income for the parent you live with the most. So even if your parents have joint legal custody and joint physical custody, you would put down the income for the only parent that you live with the most. If it's 50-50 and you literally are living in both houses equally and the custody is legal 50-50 as well as actual physical custody is 50-50, then I would say to put down the parent's income that is less, right? Because if it's equal, why not? Let's see here. Where would I look for scholarship for single parents? Yes, there are single parent scholarships out there. There are going to be some on our platform, but you can always Google for that and you'll find some scholarships for single parents. Can you take the ACT again while in college to raise your score and actually get money to pay for school? I do not believe so. Once you've already been accepted and admitted to the school, I don't think you can do that. Let's see here. There are so many questions here. Okay, wow, I'm almost done now. Let's see here. Can I take AP exams and self-study even after graduating high school? Yes, you may. But again, if you're already in college, you want to make sure you don't take AP exams that you already have college credits for. If I have classes from about 20 years ago and I'm back at a community college, I'm going for my master's, should I wait until my last years to apply for a loan? I would say do not apply for a loan unless you really, really need it, right? If you need it and there's no other way to pay for college, then you might want to consider taking one sooner. But if you can manage to afford to not take out loans, don't take out loans. All right, I think I got hopefully all of the questions answered. I kind of went through the list here. So again, I just want to remind everyone, you are going to get an email with a link to the replay so that you can play it back. And I know some people asked for some of the detailed resources I gave. When you play it back, you can pause the video and you can take notes and write down the resources that I've said that you're interested in. That same email, you will have a link to download the checklist that I mentioned that goes along with this webinar. And that email will also have a link to our Discord community. So if for whatever reason, if you haven't joined Discord yet and you want to, you'll be able to do that from that email. So thank you all. I really appreciate the time and the energy you all put into watching this webinar, and I hope it's been helpful to you. I also want to mention you will be getting another email, a separate one from a company called Trustpilot, where we're asking you to give a review and feedback on your experience with this webinar. So hopefully you won't mind taking a moment to give feedback, because I really appreciate it. All right. Thank you all so much. And hopefully I will see you at an upcoming webinar. I do one of these once a month, and then I do a Jumpstart webinar every Wednesday. So if you are new to Scholarship Owl and you want to be part of our Jumpstart, you can join that every Wednesday as well. Thank you so much.